Most people don't lose power when life hits them. They lose it in a much smaller, more humiliating way. In a moment so quick, they barely even register it. It happens when someone speaks to you with the wrong tone, when a message comes late and your mind starts filling in the gaps, when someone smiles just slightly off, like they're not taking you seriously, and suddenly something shifts. Your breath tightens, your jaw locks, your thoughts speed up, and before you even realize what's happening, you're already moving, already reacting, already giving something away. That's the part no one wants to admit. You don't lose control in chaos. You lose it in micro moments, because what you call composure was never discipline. It was comfort, and comfort only exists until someone presses the right nerve. The truth is colder than most people are willing to face. Power is not lost when you are defeated. Power is lost the moment you are moved. It leaks out through your face before your words, through your tone before your logic, through that one message you send too fast. That explanation you didn't need to give, that reaction that felt right in the moment but exposed everything underneath. People don't test how strong you are. They test how easy you are to move. And once they find that point, the rest becomes predictable. That's why this is not about being calm in the way people like to pretend. Not peaceful, not passive, not smiling through disrespect like it doesn't burn inside you. This is something else entirely. This is about becoming so controlled that people stop knowing how to read you. So still, that pressure starts collapsing back onto itself. So composed that in a world addicted to reaction, your silence feels unnatural. And once you reach that level, something strange happens. They don't call you calm. They call you cold. They call you arrogant. Sometimes they call you dangerous. Not because you changed, but because you stopped being easy. So before we go any deeper, I want you to lock this in your mind. And if it hits, drop it in the comments. My calm is my power. Because what we're about to break down isn't self-help. This is control at the level most people never train. And once you see it, you don't go back to reacting the same way again. Let's begin the surgery. Number 1. The first leak. You think you lose control when things escalate, when voices get louder, when conflict becomes obvious. No, you lose control much earlier than that. You lose it in the first micro-reaction your body gives away before you even open your mouth. That slight change in your eyes when something hits you, that almost invisible pause when you feel disrespected, that shift in your posture when you suddenly feel the need to defend yourself, that's the leak. And once it happens, the rest is just a matter of time. Because in that moment, something critical has already been exposed. Not your words, not your logic, your threshold. People don't need you to explode to understand you. They just need to see where the reaction begins, where your breathing changes, where your attention narrows, where your calm starts negotiating with your ego. That's all the information they need. From there, it becomes simple. Push a little here, delay a little there, add just enough pressure in the right place, and your behavior becomes predictable. That's the part most people never see. They think they're reacting to what just happened. They're not. They're reacting to what their nervous system interpreted. And that interpretation is almost always faster than their thinking, which means by the time you decide what to do, you've already been moved. And here's the darker layer. Most people don't even realize this is happening because the reaction feels justified. It feels like strength, like standing your ground, like not letting things slide. But look closer. If someone can change your internal state with a tone, if a delay can create urgency inside you, if a small sign of disrespect can pull you into defense, then you are not in control of the situation. You are inside it, being shaped by it. Real control starts at a different point. Not when you speak, not when you act, but at the exact moment something tries to move you, and you feel it, clearly, without obeying it. That's where the first line is drawn. And most people lose the entire game right there, because they never learned to protect that first inch. Number 2, the invisible handles. You don't get controlled because people are smarter than you. You get controlled because something inside you is still reachable. And most of the time, you already know where that is. It's the part of you that needs respect immediately. The part that cannot tolerate being misunderstood. The part that feels uneasy the second clarity disappears. Those are not just emotions. Those are handles, points of entry. Because the moment you need something from the interaction, you've already given the other person leverage. If you need respect right now, they can bait you with disrespect. If you need clarity right now, they can torture you with silence. If you need approval, they can guide you with just enough warmth. Then pull it away, and you'll move, not because they forced you, but because your system cannot sit still without that need being satisfied. That's how manipulation really works in the real world. It's not always loud. It's not always intentional. Sometimes it's just pressure meeting a dependency, and the dependency loses. The dangerous part is, most people don't see this as weakness. They call it personality. They call it honesty. They call it, this is just how I am. But what they're actually doing is broadcasting their control panel. Every insecurity becomes a button. Every unresolved tension becomes a trigger. Every emotional hunger becomes a leash. And once someone notices that pattern, even subconsciously, they don't need to overpower you. They just need to press the right place at the right time. That's why two people can face the exact same situation and react completely differently. One feels the pressure and stays in position. The other feels it and gets pulled into motion instantly. Same event, different level of access. So the real question is not, how do I stop people from testing me? That will never stop. The real question is much more uncomfortable. What inside you still needs something so badly that it makes you easy to move? Because until you answer that honestly, you're not dealing with other people. You're dealing with your own exposed wiring. And right now, it's still too easy to reach. Number 3, the relief trap. This is where most people lose and feel good about losing. Because reaction doesn't just expose you, it rewards you. Think about it. When someone disrespects you and you fire back instantly, it feels right. When tension builds and you send that long message, it feels relieving. When you finally say what's been building inside, it feels like control. But it's not control, it's discharge, and your nervous system is addicted to it. That quick release of pressure, that moment where the tension drops, that's what you're really chasing. Not truth, not strategy, not position, relief. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because what gives you relief in the short term often costs you power in the long term. You answer too fast, now they know where to push you. You explain too much, now they understand your insecurities. You react emotionally, now your thresholds are visible. You feel better for a moment, but you've just given away the map. That's the trade most people don't even realize they're making. They think they're solving the situation. They're actually exposing themselves to it. And the worst part, it becomes a pattern. Your system learns tension, react, relief. So the next time pressure shows up, you don't pause. You don't assess. You rush. Because now you're not just reacting to the moment. You're trying to escape the discomfort as fast as possible. That's why some people can't sit in silence. Why they can't leave a message unanswered. Why they can't let something hang without immediately fixing it. It's not impatience. It's dependency. They are dependent on resolution to feel stable. And anyone who controls the timing of that resolution controls them. That's the level most people never reach. They keep thinking the problem is emotion. It's not. The problem is compulsion, the inability to hold pressure without converting it into action. Because the moment you must act to feel okay, you are no longer choosing your behavior. you are obeying it. Real calm begins at the exact point where that compulsion used to win, where the message stays unsent, where the reaction stays internal, where the discomfort is allowed to exist without immediately being silenced. That's the shift. Not from emotional, unemotional, but from reactive sovereign. And most people never make it because they're too addicted to feeling better right now. Number 4. The fusion illusion. This is where the problem becomes invisible, because now it doesn't feel like you're reacting anymore. It feels like you're being yourself. Anger shows up, and suddenly you are anger. Pressure shows up, and suddenly you are urgency. Disrespect appears, and now your entire identity is wrapped around responding to it. There is no separation, no distance between what you feel and what you do. That's the illusion. You think you're in control because the reaction feels natural. But what's actually happening is much simpler. The feeling enters and immediately takes authority. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for evaluation. It gives orders. Answer now. Defend now. Explain now. Prove something now. And most people obey so fast, they don't even recognize it as obedience. They call it instinct. They call it authenticity. They call it not letting things slide. But look closer. If every time a feeling appears, your behavior follows instantly, then that feeling is not just information, it's command, and you are executing it. That's what destroys composure at its root. Not emotion itself, but the fusion with it. Because once there is no gap, there is no control, no space for judgment, no room to choose, just stimulus-reaction. And that loop becomes your identity. This is why some people cannot stay calm no matter how much they understand the concept. Because understanding doesn't matter if there is no separation. You can know exactly what you should do and still watch yourself do the opposite in real time. Why? Because the system is too fast. The feeling hits and the action is already in motion. That's why the real skill here is not suppressing emotion. It's creating distance, a small gap between what you feel and what you allow to move you. Just a few seconds where the feeling exists, but does not own you. Where anger is present, but not driving. Where urgency is loud, but not in control. That gap is everything, because inside it, something new becomes possible. Choice. And without that, you don't have discipline. You have reflex. So the shift is not becoming emotionless. It's becoming someone who can feel everything without becoming it. Number 5. The Machiavellian calm. Most people misunderstand calm completely. They think it's about being peaceful, soft, unbothered. They imagine someone who smiles through disrespect, who lets things slide, who avoids conflict to stay above it. That's not calm. That's weakness, dressed in polite language. Real calm is something much colder. It's control under pressure. It's the ability to stay lucid, exactly at the moment where other people lose clarity. Because that's the moment where power actually shifts. Not when everything is stable, not when the conversation is easy, but when tension enters the room. And most people start speeding up. Their voice rises. Their words get messy. Their thinking becomes reactive. They start trying to fix, defend, prove, correct, all at once. And in that moment, something important happens. They become readable, predictable, movable. This is where calm separates you. Because while they're accelerating, you're not. Your tempo stays intact. Your face doesn't rush to explain anything. Your voice doesn't chase control. Your mind doesn't collapse into urgency. And that creates something most people are not used to facing: uncertainty. They can't tell what you're thinking. They can't tell if they affected you. They can't tell what comes next. And when people can't read you, they hesitate. That hesitation is power. Not loud power. Not dramatic power. Invisible power. The kind that shifts dynamics without saying a word. This is what thinkers like Niccolò Machiavelli understood long before modern psychology tried to explain it. The world is not controlled by who feels the most. It's controlled by who can remain clear when everyone else becomes emotional. Because clarity preserves judgment, and judgment preserves position. If you can stay composed while someone else is reacting, you don't just avoid losing control, you start controlling the frame. You decide when to speak. You decide how much to reveal. You decide whether the moment even deserves your energy. That's why calm is not passive. It's strategic. It protects your timing. It protects your image. It protects your thresholds from being discovered too early. And once people realize they can't move you easily, something changes. They stop pushing so casually. They start calculating more. They become less certain of their influence over you. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Because the person who cannot be moved on command cannot be controlled on demand. Number 6. The social testing game. You think people are interacting with you. They're not. They're studying you. Every conversation, every pause, every small shift in tone is quietly asking the same question. How easy are you to move? And the test rarely looks like a test. It's not obvious, not dramatic, it's subtle. A joke with just enough edge to see if you flinch. An interruption to see if you lose your frame. A delayed response to see if you start chasing. A slight change in warmth to see if your behavior adjusts. None of it is loud. That's why it works. Because while you think you're just responding normally, they're collecting data. If you laugh too hard, they see the need for approval. If you react too fast, they see urgency. If you explain too much, they see insecurity. If you chase silence, they see dependency. And once those patterns are clear, you stop being a person. You become a mechanism. Push here, get this reaction. Pull there, get that response. Predictable, controllable. That's the vending machine model of human behavior. Most people live inside without realizing it. And the problem isn't that people test you. They always will. The problem is that most people answer the test immediately and reveal everything in the process. They don't even pause long enough to see what's being asked. They just react. And that reaction becomes the answer. But here's where the dynamic shifts. The moment the expected reaction doesn't come, the moment the usual button gets pressed and nothing happens, the entire interaction changes. Now there's friction. Now there's uncertainty. Now the other person has to think. Are you unaffected or just controlled? Are you patient or indifferent? Did it land or did it miss completely? They don't know. And that lack of clarity forces them to slow down, to reassess, to become less careless. That's the hidden advantage. Because the person who cannot be read easily cannot be tested casually. And the person who cannot be tested casually cannot be shaped easily. So the game doesn't stop. You just stop playing it the way they expect. And that's when you stop being predictable and start becoming difficult to move. Number 7. The weight of silence. Most people are afraid of silence, not because silence is dangerous, but because silence exposes them. The moment a conversation pauses, something starts happening inside them. Their mind speeds up, their body tightens, their thoughts begin searching for something, anything, to fill the gap. So they speak. Too fast, too much, too soon. They explain things that didn't need explaining. They add details that weren't asked for. They try to smooth over tension that wasn't even fully formed yet. Why? Because silence makes them uncomfortable. And discomfort, to an untrained mind, feels like a problem that must be fixed immediately. But here's what they don't realize. The moment you rush to fill silence, you give away position. Because now you're not speaking with intention. You're speaking to escape pressure. And people can feel that. They may not consciously think it, but they register it. The speed, the urgency, the need to stabilize the moment. That's all information. Now, compare that to someone who does the opposite. The comment lands, and they don't rush. The tension appears, and they don't scramble. The silence stretches, and they let it breathe. They look, they listen, they stay exactly where they are. That kind of silence feels different, not empty, loaded, because now the pressure doesn't disappear. It shifts back onto the other person. Now they feel it. Now they start wondering if they said too much or not enough. Now they begin filling the space, explaining themselves, adjusting their tone. And without doing anything dramatic, you've changed the direction of the interaction. That's the power of silence when it's used correctly. It doesn't retreat. It holds ground. Weak silence comes from collapse, from fear, from not knowing what to say. Strong silence is chosen. It's controlled. It's the decision to not give energy until the moment deserves it. And that difference can be felt almost instantly, because one version leaks discomfort, the other contains it. So the next time silence shows up, don't treat it like an enemy. Treat it like space. Space to observe. Space to think. Space to let the other person reveal more than they intended. Because the man who can sit in silence, without needing to escape it, starts controlling more than just his words. He starts controlling the tempo of the entire room. Number 8, the unreadable presence. This is where most people make a mistake. They hear everything about control, silence, restraint, and they overcorrect. They go cold. They become stiff, quiet in an unnatural way, disconnected from the moment. They stop expressing anything, thinking that's power. It's not. That's fear, trying to disguise itself as discipline. Because being unreadable does not mean being absent. It means being present without being exposed. There's a difference. An absent person disappears. An unreadable person stays, but doesn't give access. People can feel you're there. They can feel your attention. They can feel your awareness. But they can't map you. They can't predict your reaction. They can't tell what moved you. They can't tell what you're about to do next. And that creates something powerful. Ambiguity. Because when your internal state is no longer obvious, other people start filling in the gaps themselves. They project. They guess. They assume. They overanalyze small details that used to mean nothing. Your silence becomes heavier. Your words become more expensive. Even your eye contact starts carrying weight, because it's not scattered everywhere. That's what changes the dynamic, not theatrics, not acting mysterious. Control. You speak when there's something to say, not when there's tension to escape. You respond when it serves the moment, not when your ego feels pulled. You observe more than you reveal. And something strange starts happening. People begin exposing themselves around you, because you're no longer interrupting the process. You're not rushing to defend. You're not rushing to clarify. You're not rushing to fix misunderstandings. So they keep talking. They explain more than they planned. They reveal inconsistencies. They show where they're pushing, where they're unsure, where they're trying too hard. And all of that becomes visible because you stayed still long enough to see it. That's the advantage most people never develop. They're too busy managing how they appear to actually observe what's happening. But once you shift that focus outward, everything becomes clearer. You stop performing. You start reading. And that's when presence changes. Because now you're not just someone in the interaction. You're someone who can see it. And the less you reveal without purpose, the harder it becomes for anyone to move you without effort. That's what unreadable really means. Not hidden, not fake, just no longer available on demand. Number 9. The cost of calm. This is the part nobody talks about. Because everyone loves the idea of being unshakable until they experience what it actually does to their life. When you stop reacting the way people expect, you don't just gain control. You disrupt the system around you, and people don't respond to that with immediate understanding. They respond with confusion, then projection, then sometimes aggression, because you've removed something they were used to having. Access. They were used to knowing how to move you. Which tone works, which silence makes you chase, which pressure makes you explain. And now, none of it works the same way. So they start trying to make sense of it. Maybe you're cold. Maybe you've changed. Maybe you think you're better than them. Maybe something is wrong with you. Notice what's happening. Your discipline is being interpreted through their discomfort. Not because they're evil, but because humans rely on patterns. And when a pattern breaks, the mind fills the gap with a story. That story is rarely accurate. It's just convenient. This is why calm can actually provoke more pressure at first. People test harder. They repeat the joke. They push the tone further. They try new angles, because something in them is trying to restore the old dynamic. And when it doesn't come back, they escalate. This happens everywhere. In relationships, where emotional reactions used to create connection. At work, where urgency used to signal engagement. In friendships, where your responses used to reassure them. And now, your stillness feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable, sometimes even threatening, because what they're really feeling is a loss of influence. And most people don't like that feeling. So here's the reality you have to accept. Becoming calm will not make everyone like you more. It will make you harder to control. And those are not the same thing. Some people will respect you more. Some will pull away. Some will quietly resent the fact that they can't reach you the same way anymore. That's the cost. You become less emotionally convenient, less predictable, less available for manipulation disguised as connection. And if you're not ready for that, you'll go back to reacting just to keep things comfortable. But if you are ready, then you stop asking to be understood by everyone and start deciding who actually deserves access to you. Number 10, the death requirement. This is where most people stop, not because they don't understand what to do, but because they're not willing to become the person who can actually do it. Because this level of calm is not built by adding something. It's built by removing something. And what you have to remove is not comfortable. The first thing that has to go is the need to be understood immediately. That urge to explain yourself the second someone misreads you. To correct the narrative. To make sure they see your intention clearly. Right now, that need will drag you out of your center every time. Because now, your stability depends on someone else's perception. And that's not control. That's dependency. The second thing that has to die is the need to win every moment. That internal pressure to respond perfectly, to have the last word, to prove something in real time. It feels like strength. It's not. It's ego chasing relief. Because real control doesn't care about winning the moment. It cares about maintaining position over time. And sometimes that means letting small things pass without turning them into battles. The third thing that has to go is the need to look strong immediately. This one is subtle because it hides behind pride. Someone challenges you and you feel the urge to respond fast. Sharpen your tone, show force. But that urgency, that's not power. That's fear of appearing weak. And fear-driven behavior is always reactive, always readable. The fourth thing that has to die is emotional revenge. That quiet desire to make the other person feel what you felt, to restore balance through reaction. It feels justified, but it's still loss of control, because now your behavior is being dictated by the wound, not by judgment. And the moment the wound speaks, you're no longer leading the situation, you're reacting to it. The final thing, the deepest one, is the addiction to immediate relief, the need to answer now, to send the message now, to release the tension now. That impulse is the root of everything, because calm is built exactly where that urge used to win. In the pause, in the unsent message, in the controlled face, in the moment where you feel everything and still choose nothing. That's the threshold. And crossing it doesn't feel like gaining something. It feels like losing something, losing the old version of yourself that needed to react, to feel in control. Good, because what replaces it is not louder, not more expressive, just harder to move. So, in the end, this was never about being calm in the way people like to imagine. Not peaceful, not passive, not pretending nothing affects you. This was about something far more uncomfortable, becoming harder to move. Because if a tone can still pull you, if silence can still rush you, if misunderstanding can still force you to explain, then you are still accessible, still readable, still governable. And it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how capable you look, how strong you believe yourself to be. If your reactions can be triggered on command, then your control was never yours to begin with. The version of you we've been building is different. He still feels everything. He notices the disrespect. He sees the shift in tone. He recognizes the game. But he doesn't hand over control at the first sign of pressure. He slows the wave. He contains the expression. He guards the tempo. He reveals less and observes more. He doesn't need to win every moment, so he stops losing the bigger pattern. That's the difference. Not a better personality, a different level of control. So here's the real test. For the next 7 days, don't try to look calm. Train it. When something hits you, don't answer on the first wave. When you feel misunderstood, don't rush to explain. When silence appears, don't fill it just to feel comfortable. When your ego wants relief, delay it, even for a few seconds, especially then. Watch what happens. Watch how often your old self tries to take over. Watch how many situations were never the problem. Only your reaction to them was. Watch how people behave when the version of you they were used to stops showing up. Some will adjust. Some will get uncomfortable. Some will respect you more without saying it. Good. That means you're finally seeing the real structure behind your interactions. So if this hits something real for you, drop this in the comments. I choose control over reaction. And if you're building that kind of mind, the kind that doesn't hand itself out to every situation, every tone, every trigger, subscribe, because most people won't do this. Most people will keep reacting. That's why they stay predictable. And that's exactly why they stay easy to control.